What's up, guys? We are back in the old reviews, the new review space. We're back in it again with some new altercations. Yeah, got some lights up and totally got the sign. So please, it's back on reviews. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we are back with this is Back on Reviews, and I am your host, Beckham. Yeah. Today, we will be reviewing The Walking Dead Season 1 recap. Totally after my last recap was on, my last, adult recap was for Dexter New Blood. And then my last current recap was for Stranger Things Season 2. If you haven't checked out my Dexter recaps, please check them in the comments below and check them if you haven't checked them out already. So yeah, and if you haven't checked out my Stranger Things Seasons 1 to 2 recap, please do, because I love making content, and I hope you guys watching it. So yeah, so let's get on with the recap. So the first episode starts off. We meet Rick Grimes, a sheriff from Atlanta who talks like this because his real actor talks British. So Rick's basically talking like this for most of the review and most of the recap and most of the show. So yeah, this is how Rick talks. He has a best friend named Shane Walsh, and he has a wife named Lori Grimes. And if you have not seen Lori from anything before, she is from Prison Break, where she played the greatest character of all time, Sarah Tancredi. And I saw her on Prison Break first. So if I'm going to make a Tancredi joke in the show, I'm not going to make it in the recap. It's already joked. It's already joked. So anyway, yeah, so we meet Rick and Jane, and he's talking about his son Carl, and then they get called to a drug bust where Rick gets shot twice. So while Rick's in the hospital, he basically is in a coma for most of the episode until he eventually wakes up and basically wakes up to sleeping through the zombie apocalypse. Yes, Rick has slept through the zombie apocalypse because he's thinking to himself, where are the nurses? Where are the staff? Why does this elevator say, don't open the dead? So Rick goes to his house and tries to look for his son and wife, but that's where he sees a walker for the first time. And as he's walking through, he sees this guy named Morgan and his son Dwayne, who obviously Dwayne thinks that he's a walker, because he says Carl, and then Dwayne and Morgan's like, Dwayne, he can't be talking, zombies don't talk. So basically Morgan has to basically coach Rick on how the zombie apocalypse works. You have to kill him, you have to shoot him in the head. You have to kill him, you have to shoot him in the head. Don't use any melee weapons. You only use melee weapons because anything else will cause more dead to show up. So Rick goes back to his house and with Marcus and Dwayne, and is basically like, hey, Dwayne's like, what's going on? And Rick's like, hey, his family must have left. That doesn't mean they're dead. And he's like, how do you know that, Rick? And he's like, because the family photos and everything have been removed. So that means, because why would anyone want to steal this? That means his family must have gone out. So Rick decided to basically decides to ride to Atlanta, and that's where he meets Ian. That's where he tries to call into this local camp where his son, his wife, his best friend, and a bunch of other survivors are staying. And so Rick decides to decides to go buy a horse and go into Atlanta, but of course Rick doesn't know that Atlanta is full of walkers. So he decides to get, but when he sees the horse walker, he sees a tank, gets inside, or R.I.P. to the horse that was only in this episode, only to get killed off. So Rick stays in there until this guy named Glenn calls him and is like, "Hey dude, yeah, you know the one in the tank? Are you cozy in there?" So Rick's like, yeah. Do you see me?" He's like, I see you in the big tank. You got hordes of walkers on you. You got hordes of walkers on you, bro. So Rick decides to jump in and goes to see the walkers. So and decides to jump in where he meets Glenn and Glenn's group of people: Andrea, T-Dog, Merle. And Merle is kind of racist. He basically picks a fight with T-Dog on the. There actually another character that I've seen named T-Dog on the first day. So causing him a burden, Rick and the gang decide to basically leave. So they basically tie Merle. He's like, "Hey, you better stop talking to that guy, or we're gonna have a real problem." He's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Rick Grimes." And it's like, "Okay, Rick Grimes." Terrible Merle impression, but okay. So they decide to go, and go they shall. They leave Merle locked, but T-Dog accidentally dropped the key in the drain pipe. So while that's been happening, Lori and Shane have been sleeping together. Yes, Shane has been sleeping with Rick's wife, because when you think your husband's dead, what's your next best option? Of course, to sleep with his best friend. Yeah, that's her best option. So yeah, that's her best option. So Rick decides to come back. They see him all. Lori basically decided to, now that Rick's back, she decides to basically end her relationship with Shane because she's in episode 4. She decides to end her relationship with Shane because she's like, this dude, like, why? So, and then we meet the best character of the television show, Daryl Dixon, Merle's brother, who's basically not happy that the gang basically left his brother to die. Yeah, they're not happy. So they decide to go. To find Merle, but all they find is a bunch of walls. All they find is Merle's hand. That he used the saw to cut off his hand. So yeah, and that's where Merle's fate leaves off until they probably answer it in season 2 or 3, probably season 3. I don't know. That's where we're gonna leave Merle's fate. So meanwhile, meanwhile the gang is like, "Hey, what's going on?" So it's like, "Hey, what's going on?" So Merle accidentally leads a bunch. So we also get, here's another character that we forgot to mention, Carol. She's a character for the first season. That's all she is. She's just a character. Does she do something? No. Does she look like Eleven from Stranger Things? Absolutely. So she has an abusive husband named Ed who likes abusing her. And so one day Ed decides to basically abuse her, and abuse her he does. But then Shane, mad that Lori just called off the relationship, beats up Ed, basically saying, "Ed, if you lay your hand on your wife or daughter again, you'll get even more beat up. Do you understand?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." So basically, Ed's just basically Ed. He's just stays off into a corner. So we also got Amy, the sister of Andrea. She, if you haven't heard her actress is from Arrow, who, she was only in like one episode, season 1, episode 2, Honor Thy Fathers. She wasn't that remarkable. And not that remarkable here either. Why does the actress just keep getting roles where her character is not unremarkable? Like Arrow, she was not unremarkable. Here, she's not unremarkable. So yeah. So back with Rick and the gang, they decided to get this guy named They decided to visit the drug dealer, who basically reveals that he's not dealing drugs at all. He's just helping the elderly. So yeah. So a bunch of walkers basically attacked that night. So Amy decides to use the bathroom alone without a buddy system to help her out. She decides to go and use the bathroom alone, where she finds a zombie, and the zombie ends up biting her. Yeah. So meanwhile, the zombies are attacking. As the zombies are attacking, they keep switching to Ed getting eaten by a zombie. Yeah, it just keeps, while the zombies are attacking, they just funnily and darkly humorly switch to Ed just being eaten by a zombie. It's just funny, but it's also dark. So, yeah. So Amy dies. Like, so Amy dies, but then she comes back to life as a zombie. Andrea, thinking that there's one part left of her, goes to save her. But then when she realizes that Amy just wants to eat her brains now, she's forcing to put a gun through Amy's head and shoot her. And then Carol puts an axe through Ed's head and kills him. So for the first season, we got two dead characters. Kill count 2. This kill count will probably be racking up as the series goes on, but for the first season of The Walking Dead, we only have 2 characters so far dead. Yeah, but we also have Dwayne's mom, who I forgot to mention, is also a zombie, but since Morgan, we also got Morgan's wife, but since he wasn't able to shoot her. Yeah, so meanwhile, Rick just keeps trying to contact Morgan, trying to tell him that they're going to the CDC, where they do go to the CDC. Where they meet the only guy there. Dr. Brenner, I think. Wait, no, that's Stranger Things. We meet this doctor. I better check his name. So, then they meet Dr. Jenner, who is that type of character that he basically gives them like food and showers and everything, but then he reveals that his wife, Candace Jenner, used to be one of the test subjects that he was working on was his wife, Candace Jenner. Candace Jenner. And Candace Jenner. But then she was turned into a zombie, so he reveals that the zombie, that the brain is all active until it goes dark when a zombie bites. But then there's a little bit of the zombie in you. But the only way is to shoot him. He does whisper something to Rick that won't be revealed until season 2. Yes, they hold this whole. He says to Rick, and you'll find out until season 2. Yeah, so wait till season 2 recap tomorrow, and then you'll find out what that is, because the show doesn't tell you until tomorrow's recap for season 2. So anyway, back to this. So Jenner reveals that basically there's gonna be an HIV that will basically blow up the entire world, because he was working on something and then he was working on a zombie's brain, but then he accidentally poured something on it, causing it to be contaminate itself, basically blowing it up. So he's basically like, they're all contaminated and they're all gonna be blown up. So Rick's like, hey, what's going on? But Jackie, a character that's been in the show, decides that she'd rather die than be bitten by a zombie, so she stays there, and Andrea stays there, but then Dale's like, Andrea, who I haven't talked about for most of the season, Dale's like, and he also has like this thing with this thing with Andrea and Amy, who he thought his daughter. He's like, Andrea, you should not be sacrificing yourself like this. Do you think Amy would have wanted you to die like this? And she's like, if you're not gonna live for yourself, live for Amy. So that basically causes her to get out of there. But Jenner and Jackie basically blow themselves up, and that's where season 1 comes to an end. Yeah, that was the first. For some reason, the writers of Walking Dead didn't know how long this season would go on for, so they only had this season at 6 episodes. And yeah, we had a lot of death in season 1. We had like 3 deaths. We had 3 deaths and see 3 deaths and see. It's hard to say death with an S. Deaths in season 1. We had a lot of them. And yeah, tomorrow I'll be finishing up season 2, so I'll be able to do the recap for season 2. But this was the first season of The Walking Dead. I hope I see you next time for more of The Walking Dead. And then gotta tell you, Daryl is my favorite character. You cannot tell me otherwise. Daryl is my MVP. He is my boy. My boy. Go Team Daryl. Go Team Daryl. I like guns. I like crossbows now. Go Team Daryl. Go Team Daryl.